Sorry, we're doing a trans-Pacific stream.
Yes,
today, so
I'm in Australia here, and
it's comes with its own trials, but this is pretty fun. Like, I think this is like the coolest part about doing stuff like this.
I'm excited. This is your first Otome game ever, right?
Yeah, this is my first one ever, and I know, like, I just know the history of like Aksys with the Otome games. So I don't have like any personal experience with it, so I'm pretty excited for this.
So
and like
hyped.
all my friends also chimed in. My friends chimed in, and they were like, "Oh, you're playing an Otome game today? Which is your favorite boy?" And I'm like, "I don't know yet." Like,
you gotta decide. You've got 2 hours to decide your favorite boy.
I have to I think that's how we're gonna end the stream. We're gonna end the stream with my favorite boy.
Okay, great. So first up, we're on the first screen. The most important decision is our name. So in Otome games, you can edit the names. I usually don't edit the name because a lot of Otome games, the voiceovers will say the default name. So like the male characters, when they're referring to you, they'll call you Kotone, and I like to hear that. I like to hear them refer to you. You know, intro to the game, background. For folks who don't know anything about this game, this is a game about the girl Kotone. Her grandfather has passed away, and he has left to her his Café Enchanté. And she, from this sequence after this, she's going to the cafe to check it out, see how it's changed in the, I think, 15 years since she's been to it. And kind of deciding whether she's going to sell it or, whether she's going to actually revive this cafe and work there herself. She's working a very, mundane, kind of soul-crushing day job. So, we're gunning for her to find her dreams and, have a fulfilling life with this cafe. But the special aspect of the cafe is there is a secret door in the back room, and this door connects to different worlds. So when the door opens, people, creatures from other worlds can come into the cafe and hang out.
So I guess we started off kind of shooting from the hip. I should ask sort of as rudimentary question.
Okay.
Like, what is an Otome game?
Okay, Otome game. So Otome in Japanese actually means maiden. It's just the term that they're using for this genre of games that more recently have really steered toward visual novel style. So as you can see, kind of mostly static image with text, and then text-based choices that you choose the direction of the story. But way back when they first started, they also had more simulation elements, so you may have heard of dating sim games. So those are kind of precursors to precursors to Otome games, but also you get some Otome games these days that have those dating sim elements in them. And they're romance games that are generally aimed at a female audience. You do play as a girl for most cases, and you have option to fall in love with a variety of cool boys. In this game, you've got 5 different guys, and 4 of them are different spirits and fairies and all kind of mystical creatures, and then you got 1 normal human guy.
Okay, very cool. So there's a couple things you said there that I wanted to ask a question about. There's one thing you said where there's usually 4 or 5 boys.
Yes.
Is that pretty common, or is there a good reason for why there's a set amount of number or decisions?
Yeah, sure. I'm not sure exactly why 5 is the common number, but I would say 5. I think it's because you get a really good range of character types. There are a lot of archetypes you see in anime and other video games and things like that, and so you want to make sure there's a guy that can kind of be really relatable for everyone playing, so I have my own sort of favorite type. I usually like the loud and forward guys that are really gung-ho about hanging out with you, and maybe to an extreme. If anyone has played Code Realize in the chat, I love Impy. Impy is my favorite, and he's the redheaded, oh, I love you all the time guy. He's a little bit extreme, but in real life that might put me off, but in a video game I appreciate it. So then you also have your cool, calm, collected guy. Maybe you're kind of weird guy who's aloof, but you get to know him, your tsundere, who's oh, I don't like you, but maybe I do. So you have these character types that you'll see time and again in different games. And of course, there's some variation there, but generally, I think that's probably why you've got about 5 is the standard. Hakuoki, though, has way more than 5. I don't even know how many they're at, but yeah, so it depends on the game, too.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So, like, I remember because I was going through a few of them before today that, like, a lot of them did have 5.
Yeah.
So I thought that was, like, there's maybe some attachment, but that just makes sense, I guess, in a story-wise, because tying into that, you were also referring to so one thing we were talking about last night, you said you referred to something called a common route, and then I suppose that means that there's uncommon routes or different routes.
Yeah, that's what they should call them. I think they call them character routes.
Okay.
But the common route, is what we're in right now, where we're reading through the sort of overarching story. So here you have some choices. Not all of these will necessarily affect the plot really directly. It may sort of color your interactions with the characters or give a bit of flavor to the beginning. But usually towards the end of the common route, you will have one or more decisions that will impact which character's route you will enter into. And this really depends on the game. There are some games that are more fluid than this, but a very standard format for a lot of the Otome games that Aksys has brought over so far is that you have the common route where you're introduced to all of the characters, you get the setup of the plot, and then it splits off into the character-specific route where you are then engaging more with one character than the others and getting their story and background. And so you would have to make certain choices of who you want to spend your time with, or who you're interested in, or who you want to talk to more, and that would then influence whose route you then go into for their story. And then after you've beaten one character route, you can start over. You might be able to skip most of the common route because you've read it before, but then you pick the other character and you start doing their story. So you would replay it a few times, getting different aspects of the overarching story as well as the character-specific good stuff.
Okay, that's very cool. So that has some replayability to the game as a like a story, which is really neat. Okay, very cool. So I guess like one of the things, since we're talking about a lot of like the story aspect of it, because that's sort of the core like fundamental of a Otome game, right? So how is that different from, like, let's say like a dating sim or like a visual novel? Because that's, for me as like someone who doesn't know much about the genre, that's sort of like the first thing that I would relate it to.
Sure. Yeah, I think really with Otome games, the main difference between them and a visual novel is just the more emphasis on romance and the character specific routes in them. Otherwise, you're really talking the same emphasis on story. I think a lot of visual novels that are just straight story and not having this romance aspect won't have the same replayability. Maybe you'll have some bad endings if you make the wrong choice and you die or something like that. But other than that, dating sims, as I said earlier, more interactive in terms of gameplay elements. You might have the option to raise like different statistics, like your active stat. I'm thinking of games like Tokimeki Memorial, which unfortunately haven't been translated into English, but Tokimeki Memorial Girls Side was my first Otome game for the Nintendo DS back in the day. And those games, every day you choose what you're going to do, like after school. Are you going to go to the gym? Are you going to go to your part-time job? And that will raise different stats, like your, as I said, activity stat or your braininess stat, and then that will more directly affect like what things happen in the story, whereas this type of Otome game, the story is all affected by what you choose.
I'm like, I really like that we started with Café Enchanté, because not only did I like really enjoy the time where I worked in a coffee shop before, but because that it comes like as a huge coffee drinker, that sort of comes with like there's a certain aesthetic to a coffee shop. Right?
I got my coffee here. I'm also a big coffee drinker and really appreciate this theme. I love the sort of old Japanese cafe aesthetic they got going on here, and there's some amazing food illustrations in this game, so if you like food, you're gonna be salivating over all the good stuff in here. It's a really gorgeous game. Like even the menus, the whole UI is just really cool looking.
But cafes, like even when I worked there, it was like the atmosphere of like a cafe is like really enjoyable to me, even as an employee, just because it's like this is like a place where everybody's like calm and relaxed and enjoys, you know, the company of others, or enjoys you know, just your time by yourself with a cup of coffee. Like it's like basically a space you can make to whatever you want, and I thought that was always really cool.
All right, here's the door.
Wait, the door leads to another bigger room?
Well, so we had one door that led to this room with the other door. The room is just for the door.
No. That's never good. When the mysterious door itself leads to other bigger rooms, it's always a problem.
So we've got this door here with the open and close sign. What do you think we're gonna do?
We gotta open it.
Yeah,
we
gotta open it. We gotta get those guys to come through this door. So why would you shut, like if it's just a door leading to nothing, which is what we would assume if we're not in this weird fairy tale world, why would you need to turn it to close anyway? It's kind of ominous. Like maybe we should keep it closed.
Exactly. That's
you know what's gonna happen. Yeah.
There's a door inside of a door, and it decides that it needs to stay closed. You're like,
yeah.
Oh no.
Grandpa put it that way for a reason.
How did we get here? Did you like bust through the door?
It was he like just waiting on the other side as soon as she turned to open. He's like, all right, we're bursting through.
Finally.
Yeah.
I haven't had my coffee all morning.
Yep. So are these his horns growing behind his ears? The little like thing like this, that's his horn. At first I thought it was the tufts. I thought it was his hair tufts, but no.
Yeah.
Yeah, some interesting horns he's got there. Yeah, I think that's pretty common. He's not wearing cosplay. An important person.
I would also question whether this person was cosplaying if they walked in like this.
It certainly looks like a cosplay. Are those fake horns? Like, I don't know.
It's so much cloth to wear.
That would be quite hot, yeah, and heavy.
Yeah. No. I need a steady stream of cafe. Is that fire for horns, or what is that?
I like this guy. I have a hard time deciding usually. I'm like, I like maybe 2 or 3 of them quite a bit. We've got this really cool fellow, the Duohan. This is the one I thought you'd like because he has a nice deep voice. We're gonna learn more about why they look like this in a minute, but these are their like casual forms. I guess this is them trying to blend in, except for if you've got a helmet as your head, you can't really blend in no matter what you do.
You can only do so much as a Dullahan, I suppose.
Yeah.
Okay, so at least they know. I was like, is it just gonna be like a human thing that like we consider dual hands to be weird, or is it like a weird thing for everybody? Speaking of Otome games in general, was there one that sort of got you hooked on these on Otome games, or did it sort of like? So the reason why I asked is because I really like romance animes, or slice of lives as well. So this sort of aligns with that a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's sort of where I am coming from it at. I was wondering like how you started like with Otome games, or like if there was one that really got you into the genre.
Yeah, sure. Well, I did mention the game Tokimeki Memorial Girl Side 2 for DS was the first one I played, and that really got me hooked on it. So I imported it from Japan when I was in college, and just really liked how you had all these different options and you could really shape the game yourself, and like you were in control of the story. Because a lot of games, like JRPGs or regular visual novels, like you may have a little impact with your decisions, or like how you fight the battles, or what route you take through, a dungeon. But ultimately the story's going the same way every time, even if you replay it. So I really liked the way you can shape the story like very significantly through playing it yourself. And a lot of connections with, yeah, like shoujo and romance, manga and anime, which I'm personally a big fan of. So like when you read the manga, there's only one way it's gonna end up. Like even if you really like the best friend character that's pining away over the protagonist, if she doesn't choose him, you can't do anything about that. That's the way the story is. But in this, it's like you can see the different options, play the game multiple times, and like get to see different perspectives and choices and how that affects things. And so I really enjoy that aspect of it. Bonding over how they can't deal with cockroaches. Love it. We may be from other worlds, but even this Demon King doesn't like cockroaches.
Yeah, but are they the same cockroaches?
Yeah, that.
Like,
oh my god, they could be like giant cockroaches.
Yeah, they could be like giant demon cockroaches. Which at that point, I was like, I don't know, you're a Demon King. Like, I feel like you should see, you should have bigger fears than that.
Yeah, really.
I don't know.
Unless cockroaches or something, yeah, entirely different for him. Oops.
No,
the thumb there.
the fear of cockroaches is universal.
Yeah.
Everybody is. Which one of these characters is most likely to kill the cockroach?
I feel like Canis the Dohan, he is like down to business. He's the knight. He would get to it. He could like swipe it with a sword or just take care of it. So now that you've seen all the guys, you can make your decision, right? Even though we've barely seen this guy.
Oh no, that's
sus.
how we're gonna do this? We're gonna end the stream like this? Oh, no. Alright. Alright. I feel like this is giving away too much on stream of my personal tastes in people. This is not good. I think I'm gonna have to. We haven't gotten much from him yet, but I think I have to go with Ignis.
Ignis. Oh yeah, the fiery guy.
Yeah.
Like a hot-headed,
Yep.
angry guy. Yeah, he seems like a lot of fun. Honestly, they seem all like a lot of fun. Like I'm really looking forward to playing through all of their routes and seeing what their stories are. Like, do we go to the magical worlds? You know, or is there some kind of conflict with regular humans and not the human world? Will the cafe survive? Like, is everybody gonna get a coffee? It's very important. Yeah. Well, thanks so much for having me. It was a lot of fun. Hopefully we get to do this again. Thanks for everyone in the chat for joining, and I guess I'll let you finish things up, Sammy.
Yeah, so